What's kind of the plan with kickers right now moving forward? Charlie's got one more elevation left. Are you hoping to also see Cade York toward the end of the year, or is that kind of up in the air?
I would say all that's up in the air. You know, our focus is on one game at a time, right? And what we're trying to do is go win this game right now. And so what our hopes is that Charlie goes and kicks well and, you know, does a good job and helps us win the game. But we're kind of, at least I am, looking to go one game at a time. That's what our focus is. I think that's the only way you can treat it. You know, it's not fair to other players if you're trying to have a plan of looking to see guys. We want to go win every game. That's what our goal is.
And last week, of course, he was always a miss was going to happen at some point in his career. It happened last week. How'd you see him respond?
Look, I thought it was good. As he missed it, you know, and then he came off the sideline, I grabbed him and said, hey, you got your first miss in the NFL out of the way. So how are you going to respond to it? You know, and all you can do is every opportunity you give him, go make the next one. And he came and he responded and did a good job. And as you know, all those points are very important for us.
When the field is as beat up as it was during that game, how does that, I mean, that's got to affect the kicking game to some extent. How does that?
Yeah, I mean, you could say it does, but we have to go kicking it when you have the opportunities, you know, to go make the kicks, and it was the same for them as well. And so I think it's just a great opportunity against some adversity to go and be able to get it done.
Who were, you know, just what was kind of your breakdown of the opening return with Pitt?
Yeah, look, I was really proud. What we had talked about was starting fast, and you know, there's been a couple games now we were able to start fast on the kick return team there, and we kind of had a plan going in, and it's really cool when you go and you have a plan, you see exactly how it should play out, and the guys execute their job exactly like you practice it all week, and you have some success and you get some momentum going. And so I thought that, you know, not only did Tip do a great job of setting it up and then seeing the hole where he was winding back to, but the guys understanding in the front line of their leverage of where we were trying to get the ball to go to and influence the defenders to go that way. And then we've constantly been talking about strain. You know, and yeah, KOR frontline blocking is not easy to do, you know, and so you have to strain, and it plays longer than your mind's telling you that it is, and we've been trying to emphasize that, and those guys did. They really strained, and it was really a neat thing to see. And kind of, you know, I thought we had a chance at the second one, and we just slipped and missed the block, and you know, and that's the fine line of having a big play or just an average play. But you know, I was really proud and pleased that those guys, they've been working at it. It's really good for it to pay off for them.
What was it about Tampa's coverage plan that y'all maybe isolated or attacked in the opening kickoff?
I just think that, you know, it's kind of like I think I've talked about before. Our job as coaches is to go and try to evaluate and see where do we think that we have an advantage in every phase, you know, and I'll just talk just for special teams. And then our job is to put our guys in matchups that we think are favorable for us, trying to just get the right people blocking their people, meaning let's not get one of our safeties on one of their defensive ends. And so, like, our guys are tuned into that, and they, you know, they may have to switch some spots as they line up so that we can get the matchups, you know, that we're looking for. And but I just think it was something that, you know, we saw on film. We thought we could use our leverage to our advantage, get them to go one way and then wind it back, and the guys executed. It was really cool.
I have like a punting question that's not necessarily specific to Kai in this last game, but it's like I've always wondered, on those like 50 and in punts, why do teams in general try for the, you know, pitch and wedge shot that stops at the 3 instead of kicking it out of bounds? Is it harder to kick it out of bounds around the 5 than I think, or does analytics say if you can get someone inside the 5, it like really pays off?
Yeah, I think it's harder than you think it is to be able to kick the ball out of bounds with the angle and still trying to stay in the midline of where the snapper is and not coming off of that so far and putting yourself at a chance of getting the punt blocked, right? And so I think why the teams hit the flip-flop ball, the punters are able to control it better, and they're able to locate it and take a little bit of distance off. And, you know, like what our goal is, we're trying to play catch with the returner, as we tell our punter. And if we can get them to fair catch it at the 8-yard line, that's great, right? And if it goes, just like the returner's taught, if it's going over their head, if we can get enough hang time or enough width on the kick, then it gives our gunner a chance to be able to down the ball if the returner doesn't catch it, you know. And like, I think in our game, that situation was a little bit different. There's under 2 minutes to go in the game. We're winning, and we're at the 50 right there. And so I knew they were going to rush. I didn't know what rush it was going to be, and they wound up bringing the corner down. And in that specific situation, our deal was, look, we're going to one-step this and make sure that we don't get the punt blocked. And with the conditions, he was faster and felt better of just being able to catch it and one step and punt it instead of catch it, try to flip it with a wet ball and hit that. So obviously, would we have liked to, maybe have a couple yards off of it? Yes, but in that situation, I think the winning football is make sure we don't get a punt blocked here and, execute our technique. And the guys really did a good job. They brought the corner, and our protection, was able to take them, slowed it down. We were able to communicate it, point out who the new guys had. They had to block. So it was a good job, something we practice every week.
Is that the term you guys use, flip-flop ball?
Yeah, we refer to it as going in when, is a going in punt. And so, but I would say, yeah, like when I'm talking to the guys about the opponent punters, hey, they're hitting a traditional, they're hitting a flip-flop ball.
Mason said earlier in the week that he never returned kicks before during the year. What did you guys see in him that's allowed him to kind of pick that up so quickly?
Yeah, listen, it actually is very surprising, right? When you look at the things he does well as a receiver, that he never really returned kicks at Yale, and not kicks or punts. But since day one when he got here, understanding that a smaller slot receiver has to have some sort of impact on special teams, and his route was going to be us trying to develop him into punt returner and a kick returner. And it's a lot easier to catch kick returns than it is the punt returns, and he still works every week with us, getting catches as a punt returner. But it started with him on the look team when we were on kickoff, and we had him back there on the show team because we were a lot of development goes on with the look team. I try to put those guys in positions that if they're going to play for us, they're going to kind of be in similar spots. So he was back there as a kick returner and had done a good job, had really worked and studied, and we kind of put together a couple cut-ups of some returners, of similar returns that we're doing, of how they set it up. And he's been studying. It's really become very important to him. And so that's another neat little story that, like, he's worked so hard at becoming better, and not the actual catching of the kick return, but of actually setting up the blockers, being able to feel the hole and then wind it back or keep it front side where he needs to. He's really worked on it from a practice standpoint, from a film study standpoint, and he's doing a good job. I'm proud of him.
I think there was one return in the game that I can't recall who it was, but he wasn't back there. Was it kind of just like a hands return situation?
Are you talking about for us?
Yes.
No, we had Hull back there, Evan Hull back there. We had him back there a couple times. That's something that he has a history of doing in college. He did it his senior year at Northwestern. And then, sometimes when you look at the kickoff team, what their matchups are, if you can have an idea of, where they're going to kick the ball to, and, certain teams may play with a bigger linebacker that's out there. So you're trying to get a matchup as the off returner on a blocking guy. And so getting him a running back on a linebacker that's out there is a lot better than having one of our receivers have to try to